Same-sex marriage advocates endlessly use the words acceptance and tolerance in their quest for the social acceptance of same-sex marriage. But are those really positive terms? My daughter sometimes engages in some sorts of behavior that I do not accept or tolerate. And my response to that behavior is do not tolerate it. And that response originates with love, not the lack of it. So acceptance and tolerance are only good when the object of that acceptance and tolerance is a positive. So this begs the question, is homosexuality a positive or negative trait? How do we answer this objectively? Just because a person says something is good or bad does not make it so. So we need an objective standard, which cannot have a human source because we all judge subjectively. So I refer to evolution or nature itself. Nature is very impartial. Its only rule is survival of the fittest, adapt or perish. And unlike humans, nature shows no favoritism. So what does nature say about homosexuality? First of all, I understand homosexuality is completely natural to a point. So are other traits, such as obesity and alcoholism. I grouped these traits together because they have a lot in common, and I discovered that papers have been written by MDs, grouping them together for almost 20 years. The first similarity of these traits is that they occur in healthy populations, humans, giraffes, squirrels, whatever, at a rate of around 5%. The second similarity is that they all inhibit successful procreation of the species. And another similarity is that the occurrence of these traits increases substantially when the population is under stress. It's true. Fourthly, observe that all of these traits are epigenetic. That is, they are produced as a combination of genetics and environment. Your eye color is purely genetic. There's nothing you can eat or do to exercise that's going to change it, short of getting yourself colored contact lenses. And the language you speak is totally environmental. Any baby will learn the language of its surroundings regardless of its genetic heritage. The LGBT community, which had you believe that homosexuality is entirely genetic, and others which had you believe it is entirely a choice. Why? Pretty logical, actually. We tend to hold people accountable for the choices they make, but we don't hold them accountable for circumstances forced upon them. As is often the case, the truth seems to lie between two extremes. We know homosexuality is at least partly genetic. There's a 2010 Swedish study of identical and fraternal twins that clearly identified this trend. And we know it's partly environmental because identical twins can grow up to have different sexual preferences. So what does cause it? Well, we don't have all the answers, but we do know a lot. One significant predictor of homosexuality is maternal stress. There was a 1982 paper by Dr. Günther Donner, and he studied babies that were born during the World War II bombing of Dresden, Germany, a highly stressful time period. The rate of those who identified later as homosexuality was significantly higher than the normal. British and American researchers concluded that the stress hormone cortisol was the most likely reason for this change. Taken all together, this makes perfect logical sense. When maternal stress increases, the rate of homosexuality increases. So nature defines homosexuality as nothing more than a natural process of birth control. Nothing more, nothing less. When a population is overstressed, much like ours is now, it causes more offspring to be predisposed to homosexuality, thus decreasing birth rates and decreasing stress on the population in the future. Nature is impartial and logical. Therefore, homosexuality is simply not a positive trait. It's just simple biology. Increased rates for homosexuality above the norm signify a population with some sort of difficulties. It is not something to be embraced or celebrated, it's just nature in action. This in no way means that we dislike homosexuals. My neighbor is a generous, industrial, responsible person. She just happens to be gay. My first-year calculus teacher was wonderful, despite his obvious alcoholism. And I am sure we all have friendships in this day with people who are overweight, and we do not reject them. We love and approve of them as human beings, but we do not approve of every single thing about them. And now that we have a more objective viewpoint of what homosexuality is, how does it apply to marriage? Marriage as an institution was never designed with homosexuality in mind. It started as a social and religious institution between a man and a woman that was later accorded rights by governments and given certain legal statuses. And now same-sex couples seek to gain these legal rights by literally hijacking an institution that was never intended for them. It'd be like my daughter using a leaf blower as a hairdryer. It may do the job, but that's not the right tool for it. So what is the proper response? How can the needs of everyone be met? Peter gave the answer just a couple minutes ago. Change one federal law. In this way, everyone's needs are met and no one's conscience is violated. It's that simple.